Welcome to True Crime Index, where we look at the cases that have shaped communities, challenged investigators, and stayed with the people affected by them. Today, we're heading to West London to revisit one of its most haunting and still unsolved crimes, the tragic case of 16-year-old Lynne Weedon. Late September 1975. West London was settling into another cool autumn night. Streetlights glowed in quiet neighborhoods. The air was still, and most people were thinking about nothing more than getting home, making dinner, or switching on the television. It was an ordinary evening for almost everyone, but in the town of Brentford, something happened that would remain unsolved for nearly 50 years. A crime that still leaves detectives searching for answers, and at the center of it was a 16-year-old girl on her way home from a night out with friends. This is the story of Lynne Weedon. Lynne was like many teenagers of the time. She worked during the day, spent time with friends, and navigated that stage of life between childhood and adulthood. People described her as polite, cheerful, and reliable. She wasn't someone who went looking for trouble, and nothing about her life suggested she was in danger. She lived in a close-knit community where people knew their neighbors, and where a violent attack happening on a quiet street felt almost unthinkable. On the evening of September 24th, Lynne had spent time with friends. It was a regular, relaxed night. She left them around 11:30 p.m., planning to walk the short distance home. The streets were dimly lit but familiar, and Brentford wasn't considered dangerous. People walked around at night without giving it a second thought. Lynne's route took her along a railway footpath behind several houses. Locals used it all the time. It was a normal shortcut, not somewhere people generally feared, but somewhere along that path, everything changed. Around midnight, residents near the track heard a noise, a single loud thud, then silence. No shouting, no running footsteps, just the stillness of a London night. No one realized what had happened until the next morning, when a passerby walking the same route made a devastating discovery. Lynne was found lying on the ground, unconscious and gravely injured. She had been attacked from behind. Whoever struck her had used significant force, and it was clear she had no chance to defend herself. She was rushed to hospital, but the injuries were catastrophic. Lynne never regained consciousness. After a week in a coma, she died on October 2nd, 1975. Her family's world fell apart. Her mother later spoke about the overwhelming pain of losing her daughter in such a sudden and senseless way. A bright young life had been taken without warning, leaving a family with nothing but grief and unanswered questions. The Metropolitan Police launched an investigation immediately. They interviewed neighbors, friends, and anyone who had been in the area that night. They looked closely at Lynne's movements and the path she had taken. There was no sign of theft, no known motive, and no witnesses who saw the attack. The killer had vanished into the night without leaving a trace. In the 1970s, forensic science was limited. DNA analysis didn't exist. Detectives were left to rely on footprints, fibers, or eyewitnesses, but in Lynne's case there was almost nothing. No weapon, no solid leads. As days turned into weeks, the investigation stalled. For years, the case remained one of many unsolved crimes tucked inside police archives. Lynne's family continued to hope for answers, but time kept moving forward. As with many cold cases, progress depended on someone coming forward or new evidence emerging. Neither happened for decades. But in the 2000s, something shifted. Advances in forensic technology opened doors that weren't possible in 1975. Lynne's case was re-examined with modern techniques. For the first time, investigators identified DNA from the crime scene, traces that earlier technology couldn't detect. Suddenly, there was a new lead. And then came a second connection. Another 1970s assault in West London involving a Swedish au pair named Solveig Larssen was also re-examined. The details were strikingly similar. Attacked at night, struck from behind, and left severely injured. Solveig survived her attack, but it left lasting injuries. And crucially, the DNA recovered from both cases matched. Two victims, months apart, in the same area of London, with the same unidentified attacker. Detectives realized they were almost certainly dealing with a serial predator who had managed to operate in the shadows and escape detection for decades. The discovery brought renewed urgency. For the first time in years, there was a real chance of identifying the person responsible. In 2022, on the 47th anniversary of Lynne's attack, the Metropolitan Police issued a fresh appeal. They released age-progressed images of what the suspect might look like today and urged anyone with connections to Brentford or Hounslow in 1975 to come forward. Detectives also pointed out that the attacker would now be in his 70s. Someone, somewhere might know him. He may have spoken about the crime, hinted at it, or carried the secret quietly his whole life. What makes Lynne's case so haunting is how sudden and motiveless it appears. There was no known connection between her and the attacker, no warning, a life taken in seconds, a crime committed in near silence, leaving behind only heartbreak and decades of questions. Cold cases like this show how people responsible for terrible acts can sometimes live unnoticed, blending into everyday life. But they also remind us why telling these stories matters. Every time a case is shared, there's another chance for someone to remember something, a detail, a rumor, a conversation that could help bring closure. Detectives describe Lynne's case as solvable. The DNA is there, the links are there. All that's missing is the name that matches the evidence. Lynne Weedon was just 16. She deserved a full life, not an unending mystery. If you have any information about the attacks on Lynne or on Solveig Larssen, even something small, police urge you to come forward. After nearly 50 years, justice for Lynne is long overdue. And if you want to follow more cases like this, feel free to subscribe to True Crime Index. Your support helps keep attention on stories that deserve answers. Thanks for watching and take care.